I've seen that at Aston Villa, and where he's been absolutely brilliant. But what are Villa going to do? Now that they've seen how this guy, what level he operates at, what level do they want to operate at? Because they're a big club. You know, former European champions, many, many years ago, don't forget. And how are they going to operate? Are they going to go out and really back this guy and make a push for the top four like we've seen from Newcastle this year? Or are they going to rest in the laurels and say, hey, he can get the best, you know, we've spent money, he's going to keep getting the best out of this? So that, for me, is going to be interesting. But it just shows you when you get somebody in that has...
Proper manager.
Yeah, basically a proper manager who has that skill set, Jan. It just can make things from day to night.
And what we are discussing here, and it's quite interesting, I think that is a wider discussion, is the kind of environment that the English managers are working at now. And Aston Villa is the typical example of that, because Steven Gerrard was there and we all loved him as a player. He's a good guy, but he didn't succeed at Aston Villa at all. Unai Emery is coming into English football and just shows you what knowledge is all about, what experience is all about. Emery is one of the candidates to be manager of the season. Top of the table is Pep Guardiola, fair enough. Arsenal have a good season with Arteta and so on. You can go down to Bournemouth and say O'Neill has done a great season. But what about Aston Villa? Emery is just showing English coaches what is this all about. And I'm not single them out because I love English. We have Eddie Howe and we have some great English coaches in the history of this game. It's nothing to do about that. But it just shows you that a Lampard, a Gerrard, or all young coaches is not just to go into this job called management. You have to travel around, you have to get your experience to run some of the biggest clubs in Europe, and all these big clubs are in the Premier League. And Aston Villa is an example of that. And Craig, me and you were quite honest about that. When you hear the football discussion in England, it's kind of protecting your mates. It's nothing about the discussion of what you're doing when you go into management. And I would just do a warning on that, because there is a lot of good English managers coming up, but you have to see, you have to learn, you have to pick up experience around Europe. How many English managers run around Europe to learn from other managers? Not many. Well, you can go to Birmingham now and say hello to the guy at Aston Villa and learn from him.
Meanwhile, Harry Kane on the score sheet once again. We don't hear often from Harry Kane about his future, but obviously speaking this week. Jan, it wasn't one of those interviews where you were trying to read between the lines, trying to work out whether there were any hints there that he wanted out. Everything was quite, well, not positive about Spurs, but quite committed to Spurs when talking about his future. Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me, because I think he is in a terrible situation, because he is loyal to his club. He is a club legend. If he stays there, he will end up with a statue outside the ground there, and he will break all kind of records. But we also remember that Harry Kane was desperate to go to Manchester City. We're also desperate that they didn't call it a strike, but he wasn't turning up for training. So there is something about, imagine his head. You have the feeling that he will never win a title. You have the feeling that he will break all records. You have the feeling he can break Alan Shearer's record. And done that for England, of course. So I think that is a very difficult situation for Harry Kane. I got a feeling that he will stay. Bayern Munich desperate to get him. I don't think he will go abroad. Manchester United, is there a title guarantee there? Yeah, maybe or maybe not. So I think that Harry Kane is now just kind of realized, and that is a long, long discussion about goal records and titles. There is a lot of players who have won a lot of titles for Manchester City and Manchester United that we will never remember ever. And Harry Kane, you will remember. So it's a quite interesting discussion.
Harry Kane's starting to bore me.
Add it to the extensive list now.
He really is starting to grain on. I don't care how many goals he scores for Tottenham. This season in particular is ample evidence, if ever needed, that this club are, under this ownership, are only ever going to be also-rans. If he wants to continue to be a part of that, to break a record and get a statue, where's the ambition in that? There are clubs out there desperate bigger clubs and better clubs than Tottenham, desperate for players of his ilk, top players. He's an elite player. He's a difference maker in the right team. The difference between Man United possibly winning a league next year, depending on one or two other signings, and not. That's how big he is. That's the difference he can make. What difference can he make to Tottenham now? He's been there, he's seen it, he's played in that movie, and the movie replays almost all the time, and it's the same. And I understand there's records out there, but records are there to be broken. And one day, Harry Kane, if he stays and breaks a record, his record will be broken. So, where's the ambition? Fight for your right, with 12 months left in your contract, to get a deal done. Get yourself a proper agent, by the way. And he should have done this a while ago. Get himself a proper agent that can negotiate properly and make things happen. But I get the feeling we'll be sitting here talking about Harry Kane scoring goals for Tottenham Hotspur next year and who the hell they're going to hire as manager. Nobody knows. Because they're smoking mirrors about Nagelsmann. Oh, we're not really. No, let's get this straight. It's the other way around. People are turning you down. You're not turning people down. So I'm a little bit different from Jan here. I think he has to fight strongly, and I don't think he will, to get out of this club that are going nowhere. And if they are going somewhere, it's years down the line when he's retired.
I think I think that he is a. I don't know if this is English expression of it, but I think he is a victim now of his own image. Of course, he has. If Levy says you're going to stay, and if you want to move, okay, then you have to go. Then you have to sit out your contract, and then you will get a thing. And the reason I think that he will stay is that every interview, everything we know about Harry Kane is that he won't do anything improper. He will stay on because it's a impossible task that he tries to do. That he wants to win titles and stay at Tottenham. That is point one. That's not going to happen.
Correct.
He will not get a move to be the most polite man in the world. Point three, if he want to keep that image of the England captain scoring goals for Tottenham, that is not possible. We've seen so many players who try to be loyal to your club and then still want to leave. We've seen so many of them. And that's why I think that everything that I've learned from following his career on and off the pitch, that he will stay on Tottenham.
But it's not improper, Jan, to want to better yourself. It's not skullduggery. It's not, and I don't have a problem with this, but it's not Ashley Cole going to Chelsea. It's not Sol Campbell leaving Tottenham on a free and going to Arsenal. Those players were entitled to do that, by the way. Mm-hmm. Entitled. This is the guy who has given as much as anybody in recent years to this club, right? And he's laid down, and they've made promise after promise after promise about what they're going to deliver, and they've under-delivered big time, right? The question here is, does Harry Kane want to stay? Right, by the way, and why be worried about upsetting supporters? It's part and parcel. Players come and go, it's a business. But does he want to go and really crave success and fight for titles? Or does he want to stay and have 60,000 people pat him on the back and say, oh, you were a great player for Tottenham and you scored all those goals? You have to ask yourself the question, why are we playing the game? We're playing the game because we are playing the game because we love the game, but you want to be in a cup final, you want to be in a Champions League final, you want to be fighting for league titles, and if you don't get that opportunity, you don't get it because you're not good enough. But when you get that opportunity, and by the way, there are hundreds of players that would love to be in a position with the talent of Harry Kane, with a potential to go to some of the big clubs. Hundreds. But most of them are not good enough. Here we have a player who's one of the best in the planet in his position, and yet he seems happy to sit on easy street to break records, to get a pat on the back, and continue to score goals for Tottenham. For me, that's a complete lack of ambition.
Yeah, but it's very fair because it's not difficult to give Harry Kane 10 talking points to make a case for leaving Tottenham. He's been there for ages. I have ambitions. This is my last contract. I need some other experience. And having said that, there is also 2 seats available in the Premier League now. Chelsea are desperate for a number 9. I don't think they will take Lukaku back. Well, maybe, but let's see. Manchester United, desperate to get a number 9 in. So there are 2 top 6 teams, top 5 teams, top 4 teams with or without a Harry Kane that is possible to go to. So that is the challenge. But we've seen that enough. There has been some big decisions over the years. We should not talk a lot about back in the 90s, but I remember when Alan Shearer went from Blackburn, he was the greatest goal scorer there. He wanted to go to Newcastle. Fair enough that he wanted to go back to his hometown. He had the dream of having that number 9 shirt. We'll say, yeah, he scored a lot of goals there as well. If he went to Manchester United, he would have now have 12 titles and he would have 469 goals. So there is always decisions to be made on any level of any player. I mean, a guy like me, I was moving around because I had an offer, I said yes, and I went to the new one. But these players, these are big decisions, and with Craig, that is all about bravery to make those decisions, to make tough decisions.
But Jan, Alan Shearer wanted to go back and play for Newcastle because he hadn't played for Newcastle. And he wanted that opportunity to play in front of that great crowd and he's up in the North East. Harry Kane's had all these years, and he's played for clearly.
And Shearer won the Premier League.
Yeah, he'd already won the Premier League at Blackburn. You know, Harry Kane's had all those opportunities. It's time to move on. Do you want to? I keep going back. Would you rather be remembered for scoring the goals, or would you rather be remembered for the guy that went in and made the difference at Man United? Was the player that finally took them over the line? And the quest to be back amongst the real big boys. They're in the Champions League next year. They won the Carabao Cup this year. They're in the FA Cup final and June the 3rd. They're playing in all the big games. This club are back playing mostly in all the big games. And are they going to be poorer, Man United, next year than they were this year? After how they started, getting walloped by Brentford and all that? No, they're not. No, they're not. They're going to strengthen in the summer. And I would want to be part of that if I was Harry Kane, a guy that's going to make the difference at the real top end of the business that he's in, before it's too late. But if you sit and say to me, what's the percentage of that? I would say 10% chance.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.